Good morning, Kwik Learners. Could we please stand up and give a warm welcome to Jim Kwik, your trainer and your coach.
Good morning. Good morning. Wow, what a beautiful group. Have a seat, have a seat. How many of you are ready to have a mind-blowing weekend? Is anybody here ready to upgrade their brain? Oh yeah. It needs it, right? Anyone feel like you're a little overloaded? Anybody feel there's like too much to learn, too little time? Much too much information, much too much to learn, so much to be able to savor and to learn. How many people have books on your shelf you haven't read yet? Anybody get more than 10 emails today? How about your memory? How many people came here today love to have a better memory? How many people forgot why you came here today? Have you ever done that? Have you ever walked into a room of your own home and then you forget why you're there? Anyone feel a little absent-minded, like senior moments are coming a little bit early? Maybe you're taking a shower and you can't remember if you shampooed your hair. And you end up doing it twice, or maybe more. Anyone misplace things or know somebody who misplaces things all the time? Like your wallet or your purse, your cell phone. Have you ever found yourself calling your own cell phone, hoping you kept it on? And that's if you remember your own phone number, right? Laughter of recognition. Or your car keys. Or if not your car keys, something much larger like your car. You ever see the people out in the parking lot of those big malls and they're using their car alarms to figure out where their car is? And how about, I know a lot of people talk about names. How many people, honestly, you have trouble remembering people's names? Have you ever met somebody, you get their name, and then seconds later, what happens? It's gone, right? How embarrassing. Well, hopefully you remember my name if throughout the weekend. My name is Jim Kwik with Kwik Learning. I help people learn quickly. What's my name? All right, what's my name? See, it's working already. We could just leave right now. Kwik really is my last name, Kwik. With a name like Kwik, you could say that my life, my destiny was pretty much planned out. I had to be a runner back in school. And that's a lot of pressure too when it says Kwik right on your back to run like that. I have to be very careful when I'm driving because the worst name to get pulled over when you hand over the officer your license for speeding is Kwik, because you're not going to talk your way out of that ticket. And I get to teach speed reading and speed recall, speed learning, and that's what I've had the privilege, the honor to do for about 2 decades. Now, and you're going to get the best of what I know over the next few days. How many people are excited? Oh yeah. So speaking of names, what I wanted to do is I wanted you guys to actually introduce yourselves also. So stand up real quick. I'm going to do a quick exercise. You can put your pens down. What I'd like you to do just over the next few minutes is meet as many people as you can. Don't have a conversation, but I just want you to share with them your name, your first and last name, your occupation, and a hobby, something you're really passionate about, okay? So your name, what you do, and something you're passionate about, some kind of hobby, okay? And do as many people as possible, okay? Go. All right, have a seat, have a seat, have a seat. Wrap it up, have a seat, get back to your seats. All right, how many people met some neat people? All right, so these are going to be your teammates. Hopefully everyone raise your hand, all right? These are going to be your teammates for the next few days, this training, this program that we're doing together, because really, team together, everyone achieves more. You know, what we're going to talk about the next few days is about unlocking your potential, your mental faculties, if you will, of focus, of your ability to learn, to be able to read, to be able to comprehend, to be able to concentrate. And it's not going to be me doing this to you. It's because you are an incredible genius as it is. And one of the challenges is we're not taught how to do this, right? I always thought it was interesting that school taught us what to learn, but not always how to learn. You know, classes like math and history and science and French and Spanish, wonderful classes on the content, but not necessarily on how to learn all that different content. And has the world changed a little bit? You know, like how we learn things is pretty much the same as it was 10 years ago or 20 years ago, even 50 years ago. But has the world changed over that period of time? A little bit or a lot? A lot, right? And I love everyone here because I salute you and I respect you for being here because you're the few who really do these things versus the many people who just kind of complain about things, complain about their memory. And so I give you my deepest respect and gratitude for being here. I want to let you know that you being here, I know that your time is incredibly valuable because it's the one thing that you can't get back. And many people I know flew from different areas of the country and around the world to be here, and I don't take that for granted. And I want to let you know I'm going to give you 1,000% over the next couple of days, but also, who has to give 1,000% also? Right, all of you. How many people believe that what you put in is what you get out? And this is exactly the same. So this is not Jim Kwik giving you a better memory. This is you, me as a coach or a trainer showing you some of the things that I learned along the way over the past couple of decades of studying this area and working with thousands and countless of people around the country, these little distinctions that help you to get grand results. How many people want to know what that is? And so that's what we're really going to focus on, but we have to do it together, okay? So I'm going to, and we are, and just so you know, what we're doing here is I really want to give you an experience. So a lot of what we're going to do is very interactive because I think that in 21st century learning, it's not based on consumption. It's not just sitting here as a student and just kind of taking notes. You know, that's consumption. I think 21st century learning or whole self-learning is more based on creation, where the individual takes responsibility. You know, I had the good fortune to be able to introduce two of my mentors. And I got to introduce Stan Lee. How many people know who Stan Lee is? He's the creator of Spider-Man. He's the godfather of superheroes, X-Men, Avengers, and such. And I got to introduce him to Richard Branson and over the course of dinner. And my wife and I, we get to pick him up, and we're in the car together, and we're in LA. And a 5-minute trip ends up taking like an hour, right, in LA. And I got to spend time talking to him. And he said this famous quote from Spider-Man, that with great power comes great responsibility. And we all know that, right? It's like built into like our DNA or something. And I looked to him, it's really interesting, it's true. People who have great power have a responsibility to steward that power, right? And I said to him, it's interesting that the opposite is also true, that with great responsibility comes great power. With great responsibility, when we take responsibility, we have unbelievable power to change things and to transform our lives. And that's really what this program really is all about. So I salute you for being here. I'm going to go through this now. I have this really kind of quick slide here with Woody Allen. He says 80% of success is just showing up. Isn't that the truth in life? Just showing up. And I don't know what your beliefs are, but I think I have a belief, I don't know if it's true or not, but I choose to believe it, that certain things are fated. You know, like certain people maybe come into your life for maybe a reason, but really your future depends on what you do with those things, that we have the responsibility and decisions to move things forward if we'd like to. But I really think that if you want to get the most out of it, you just show up and you play full out. I think that's everything. You play full out and you show up, and that's why I applaud you for being here. Now, what I wanted to do is I just wanted to get this is actually a training, all right? So we have an office not too far from here. It doesn't hold as many people that are here. That's why we're doing this with you. But I really want to treat this as like a class, all right? So it's not like a presentation. And it's a little bit different. This is not a conference. There's no selling at this conference. You're not going to ever have to take out your credit card. This is me serving you. We're videotaping this at a high expense. And just so you know, we're going to give every single person here a copy of that, all right? So you have it. And so because I know, over the course of 2 days, you could get a lot of information, or 3 days, but really success is a habit. And you're not, you could learn some wonderful things, but to develop that habit, it takes commitment. And so I want you to be able to have access to this. So we're going to produce this and make it available for you as soon as it's done after production. And so I hope you enjoy that. But I want to get a sense of, yay, I want to get a sense of what brought you here. Maybe if we have a couple of mics, maybe just raise your hand, because I could customize this, to be able to serve you as much as I can. Just raise your hand, and if we have James or somebody else, if someone could just bring out the mic and just give it to someone who's raising their hand. And I just want to know who you are, where you came from, and why are you here? How can we serve each other together? Hi.
Good morning, Jim. I'm Sarah Shirley, and I'm a chaplain. I'm an Episcopal priest, and I'm a part-time Air Force chaplain in the Air National Guard. And I need to consume lots and lots and lots of literature to be able to make a living, just to do my life. And I've just found as I've gotten older and as I've gone to war a few times and gone through menopause and all that, I'm just foggy.
It's war and menopause, right?
I did, when the Afghanistan war started, I started perimenopause. And then in night sweats. In Afghanistan, hot flashes 10 years later. It's just bizarre. So I got to write a book about war and menopause. But to be a good writer, you've got to read a lot.
Yes.
So there's that. And then I'm a chaplain, so people expect me to remember their names and their lives.
Wow.
And frankly, I just can't anymore. And, I'm part-time in that, and then I do other things part-time, so I'm all over the world, and I just can't remember even where I'm going. So I need to read a lot, and I need to remember better, I need to regain some mental focus.
All right, you're in the right place. Let's give Sarah a hand. How many people can relate? You have books that you want to read? They say that I was doing a program for a national book chain, and they were talking about that 95% of the people actually go out and buy a book, never get past the first chapter. How sad is that? Actually go out proactively to purchase a book. 9 out of 10 people never get past the first chapter. And as our friend Lisa Nichols talks about, it becomes shelf help instead of self-help, right? And the overload, how many people feel like you're wearing many hats? You have all these different hats, and sometimes there's so much conflict going on, not just in the outside world, which there obviously is, but also internally. Like, how do you sort all that out? And in the reading program that we're going to talk about, I'm going to talk about how to organize information. So it's not just about reading faster, but it's really about reading smarter, so you can organize it, have better clarity, and by its very nature, you're going to read faster. So thanks for being here, Sarah. Who else? Where your name, where you're from, and what brings you here?
I'm Anne-Marie Tolman. I'm from Annapolis, Maryland, originally from the Netherlands, if you're still hearing the accent.
Anne-Marie?
Anne-Marie, yes. I'm a vibrational coach. I'm also a nurse, and I work a lot with children who have learning problems. And part of my being here is for myself, but also for them to find methods to help them actually learn better and feel better about themselves as well.
Great. Give her a hand, Anne-Marie. Thank you. How many people have children in your lives? I mean, what a wonderful opportunity. People ask about helping their children out. I think one of the best ways is for, as parents, or if you have a child in your life, to learn these skills. And almost everything you're about to learn over the next couple of days in this program is going to be applicable for kids. And that's wonderful. If anything, kids pick this up. We're the fastest learners on the planet, right? I did this to a group of like 80 different countries, international group. It's being translated in different languages, which is really interesting when you're speaking and it's being translated into our languages, because you'll tell a joke and half the room will laugh. And then you'll get onto something very serious, and then the other half of the room will laugh, right? But I asked the group, who are the fastest learners on the planet? And a whole table right here said pygmies. And I still, if anyone understands that, I don't, but let me know what that is. But we'll talk about a lot of the things, all the principles, all the strategies, all the processes could definitely be worked with children. In fact, I think some people after learning this are going to be a little bit upset, saying, why wasn't I taught this? This would have been so much easier to have back in school. So thanks for being here, Anne-Marie. Yes.
Hi, my name is Fran Noctegal, and I'm from Islip, Long Island.
Hey.
And a lot of what has already been said, but for me, it's really, I just transitioned to a new profession. I used to work on Wall Street, and I just became a mental health counselor. And I feel like I'm in catch-up mode, and there's a lot of information. And it's not just about reading the information for me, it's also about really, like you say, organizing it and being able to apply it in a practical way.
Yeah.
And I have a terrible memory for names. Terrible, terrible. And when you work with mentally ill people, it's really important to remember their names and something about them. So that's another part that I really need to work on.
Awesome. Let's give Fran a hand. Let me get some. Okay, so how many people all feel the same way? How important is it, by the way, to be able to remember someone's name? A little bit or a lot? How many people here own your own business? Wow, half the room. How many people have a relationship with a human being? Because a name, what's the sweetest sound to a person's ears? Their own name. And it's really hard to show somebody you're going to care for their children, for their future, for their business, for their health, whatever it is your career is, if you don't care enough just to remember their name. If anything, I think the most important business etiquette skill is the ability to remember someone's name. And so we'll definitely talk about that. The other thing what we're talking about is using this information, because I'm really big on that. I think knowledge is not so much power. Knowledge is what? It's only potential power. It only becomes power when you what? When you use it. The challenge is most of us are so overwhelmed with information. We're being flooded with information, but we're starving for wisdom. Do you know what I mean? And those little things of information, even when you want to read faster, speed reading, it's nice to be able to read faster. It's also good to understand it, too. There's a Woody Allen quote that it's in the presentation that says, has anyone here, by the way, taken a speed reading class before? A couple people? For a few people. Most people talk about traditional speed reading, and it's more skimming or scanning or getting the gist of the words. And I guess maybe because I started with memory training, I feel like it doesn't make sense to really read something if you're not going to understand and retain it. And so we're going to talk a lot about smart reading, and so we could catch up. Because when you're switching careers like that, they say, actually, the person, I read recently that a student entering the workforce right now is going to have, on average, 14 different careers. 14 careers, not jobs, different careers. That's insane, but that's the world that we're living in right now. It's so exponential and so fast, but how we learn everything is pretty much the same. This program is about closing and that gap, all right? So a couple more really quick. Who has the mic? Yes.
I got the mic. My name's Kelly Parker. I'm from St. George, Utah, where it was 82 degrees last weekend. In November, I had a stroke. And so since that time, I came across what you've been doing. And I really just wanted to be able to make sure that I don't lose any mental ability and improve my mental ability. And so since that time, I've been doing your program. And I'm also working with a company that's found a way to lengthen telomeres on the DNA.
Wow.
So I've been taking that, and it's helped out a lot. So I'm glad to be here.
Fantastic. All right, let's give Kelly a hand. Let's get a couple over here.
Hi, I'm Claire from East Islip, New York. And for example, I've already forgotten this woman's name, and I want to know her name because she lives in the town right next to me.
Fran, meet Claire.
And the problem I have is I'm in sales, and I would be in a room like this, and I would meet people, and I would literally go up to the same person 5 minutes later and introduce myself again, and they'd be like, I just met you.
Give Claire a hand. How many people feel so absent-minded you have to write your grocery list in triplicates? But it happens, right? And also when we're talking about faces. All right, just one more. One more up here, up front.
Good morning, Jim.
Good morning.
Amazing people. I'm Anna, and I'm a medical doctor from Russia. And for me to practice medicine in the US, I'm required to pass a test that based on my 6 years of studying in medical school in Russia. So my challenge is translating from Russian to English medical terminology. And I don't want to just cram for exam. I want to pass the exam and become a great doctor. And it's a challenge because of overload of information that it takes to pass the test.
Very cool.
I need help. Thank
Well,
you.
that's not very cool, but yes, let's give Anna a hand. All right. We'll also, part of what we'll do with the reading program, That's just to make sure that we're all awake. The part of what we're going to do with the reading program is the smart reading. So they found out, University of Chicago talked about reading research that 95% of students read their textbook incorrectly. And so I'm going to show you a couple of more optimal ways to study technical material. And we'll also talk a little bit about foreign languages. Because I think that how many people would love to be able to improve their foreign language vocabulary? All right, so that's something we'll kind of do fun, maybe tomorrow also. So I appreciate everyone for being here. I hope I get to meet you, during the breaks and such. And we're gonna get started. You guys ready to go? Now we're gonna need energy for this, all right? Because remember, what you put in is what you put out. This is not typical school, right? So I want you to, you guys ready to go? So I want you to sit as if you were incredibly fascinated about what you're about to learn, okay? And you're totally excited about being here. So sit in that way. Now, why do all of you have to move? All right, let's start with this. Okay, so just really quick, just as a reference, when people see, because you shared a little bit about your story and why you're here, and you met each other and shared your careers. By the way, how many people forgot a lot of the names of the people they just met? Right? You shared your name, your first, your last, your occupation, and also your hobby. I'm going to talk about that a little bit before lunch on how to remember names. And so we're going to practice it. And then when we break for lunch, you're going to be able to remember a lot more names. And I'm going to tell you why. How many people remember when you look around at the people you met? How many people honestly forgot some of the names of the people you met? How many people actually, though, you remember more of their occupation or their hobby by looking around? Isn't that interesting? There's something called the Baker-Baker paradox, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. And so how I got started on this is, and I don't really share my story very often, but the quick of it, if you will, is that I teach this because we teach the thing that we really need to learn. Isn't that true sometimes? And I encourage you to learn this, and we'll provide the digital access to this also to you, and so you could be able to help other people in your lives. Because I think that's how what a spark does. You spark it and then it just lights up. And I think one of the reasons why you teach other people is because it allows you to learn in a deeper way. And haven't you noticed that if you learn something, it's one thing, but if you learn it with the intention or the plan to be able to teach it to somebody else, wouldn't your learning be a little bit different? A little bit or a lot? Like if I told you that next week you have to teach this to somebody else or a group of people, would you feel that, right? You change, and that's what I encourage you to do. So when I learn something, I always ask myself two questions. I always ask myself, how can I use this? And how can I teach this to somebody else? I ask that question hundreds of times consciously and probably thousands of times unconsciously all the time. And your questions really are the answer because your questions determine your focus. And that's what we're going to talk about a lot of this. But it wasn't always this way. I wasn't ever like this as a child growing up. If anything, if people see me on stage memorizing like words or names or lists or cards or what have you, I always tell people I don't do this to impress you. I do this to express to you what's really possible. Because honestly, growing up, I had challenges learning. And most people don't believe that, but it's very true. When I was 5 years old, I had this head trauma. I had this really bad accident, and I still have scars, and it was really not a fun experience. And I always thought that ever since then I was broken. And I don't know if you feel that way in some area of your life where something is just wrong with you, but that's how I felt. I felt like I could never focus. I never read a book cover to cover, a school book, all the way up to, until college. And I never could focus, and all my friends would do so much better than I would. And I don't know if there's a area of your life, in your health, or your relationships, or your learning, or your money, your finances, your business, that you feel like you're working way harder than everybody else and the results haven't yet come in. And sometimes I'm saying that maybe it's like a stone cutter, right? It's like you have this stone here and you're just, the stone cutter is just, hitting it with the hammer, nothing happens. But then what happens? One hit, what happens? It just splits in half. Was it that one hit? No, because nobody sees what's going on in the inside, right? And so that's kind of like a metaphor for what we're talking about here. I want to give you those little things that's going to give you big results because I didn't know those things. And so I struggled and I became painfully shy. Even to this day, I still have the residue of getting on stage all the time because growing up, I wouldn't give a book report. I would do the book report, but I wouldn't present it in front of the class. Like a class like this, teacher would invite me up to speak on it, and I would say I didn't do it because I couldn't get on stage because, you know, my wife and I, we got married in the Amazon rainforest, and that's a totally different story. But I swear, I would perspire, my heart would beat more, you know, than even in the Amazon, because I was just, I felt like, and I think thinking about it, and I know some therapists in the room also, I just thought maybe I wasn't good enough because I didn't have anything to offer, because I wasn't smart enough. And that's why I take this really seriously, because in the world we live on right now, you know, our gifts are really, I mean, this is all of a gift, right? But the society we live in today's information age, you know, if knowledge is power, then learning is your superpower, right? We're paid because of, it's not our brute strength, it's our brain strength. It's not our muscle power, it's our mind power. And the quicker you can learn, the quicker you can earn. And I don't just mean financially, that's obvious, right? But I mean all the treasures of your life. And so when I got to college, because I was, you know, so ambitious to try to take on new classes, I took on all these classes and I tried to keep up, and it got worse. And what happens after months of not eating, not sleeping, just studying all the time? What do you think happens? You crash, and that's what I did. I crashed in the library. I literally fell down a flight of stairs, and I woke up in the hospital 2 days later. I was down to 117 pounds, and I woke up, I thought I died. I was hooked up to all these IVs, and I thought there had to be a better way. And that's when it made me think about, how can I learn this better? And I've been spending my life, the past 2 decades, solving this riddle of how our mind works, so we can work our mind. And that's what I want to share with you. And I started getting these answers, and my life turned around. And then I couldn't help but share this with other people. And at one time, I was only going to do it on a very small scale, but one of my students, she was a freshman in college, she struggled with the speed reading. And, you know, because it's a habit, it takes effort, right, to learn. But after 2 weeks, she really struggled, no progress. And then all of a sudden, something tipped, like the stone cutter, and she ended up reading 30 books in 30 days. How many people would love to read 30 books? How many people would love to read 1 book a week? 50 books a year. You know what the average person reads in a year? 1 book, 1.5 books a year. That's tragic. What I love about reading is if somebody, how many authors do we have in the room here? A number of them. If somebody has decades of experience and they put it into a book, and you could sit down and read that book in a few days, you could download decades into days. How awesome is that? Because you don't have to go through the what? The pain, the trial and error, the finances, the investment, the experience. You can learn from other people's experience, right? And so it's not other people's money, it's other people's experience. That's what you want, right? And so basically what happened is I learned all these skills, and then this one girl, she read 30 books in 30 days, and I wanted to find out not how she did it. I knew how she did it, obviously. I wanted to know why she did it. And that's why I wanted to know why you're here and get clear on your why. Because why first, right? I believe it goes from your head to your heart, your hands. You know, you can visualize things, think things, affirm things all day here, but if you're not acting with your hands, how many people ever learned something but you didn't do anything with it? Everyone should be raising their hand, right? How many people ever gone to a conference like this and then you left it thinking, wow, it's really great, and didn't do anything with it? And so that's what I want to be able to say, because I think what's missing is the second H, which is your heart, your emotions, your energy of motion. Right? What fuels it? What's the fuel in the car? And so her fuel, her why, was her mother was dying of cancer. And the doctors gave her 60 days to live. Not whether she would live, she was 60 days to live. And the books she was reading during our course were books on health and wellness, because she was determined to save her mother's life. Wow, right? 18 years old. And, you know, at the time saying prayers and wishing her luck. 6 months later, I get a call from this young lady, and she has tears in her voice, and there are tears of joy. And her mother not only ended up surviving, but she's really starting to thrive and get better. And doctors don't know how or why, but her mother attributes it to all the great advice she learned from her daughter, who learned it from all these books. And that's where I realized that the right idea, when it's implemented and used, could transform and could even save people's lives. Like, is there a solution in a book out there for any problem that we really have, right? But do we have the time to be able to learn it? So that's what this program is really all about. So I thank you guys for being with me, and we're going to get started right now. Take notes, all right? Even though if you're going to get the copies of this, you want to boost your retention of information, 50%, just take notes. And what I like to do is I actually put a For me personally, I like whole brain note taking. How many people are familiar with mind mapping? All right, so great resource is Tony Buzan, Buzan, Tony, mind mapping. And there's some great software or programs, and this is whole brain note taking. We won't talk about it really in this program, but it's a great resource because I think a lot of people, the reason why, what percentage of our brain do we use? 10%. Einstein said 10%. Stanford came out with 2%. Recently, they said 1/10,000th of 1%. It's like, it's like keeps on going down. And we have enough brain power to last us 1,000,000 lifetimes and such. But also, I think we use all our brain. I really do. I think we use all our brain, but it's just how we use it. And that's what we really want to get better at. But part of it is sometimes we're only using maybe our left brain, our logical brain, and we're not using our right brain, which is more creative, expressive, imagination. So what I do is for note taking, I do whole brain note taking, where I put a line down the page. And you could try this too. Put a line down the page. On the left side, on the top, I put capture. And on the right side, I put create. Capture and create. And so on the left side, I'm taking my left brain notes. It's kind of like, if you learn something or a great idea or a tip or a strategy, write it down on the left side. But on the right side, you're not just capturing it, you're creating it. So what are your thoughts on what you just captured? How are you going to use it? What does it remind you of? What questions do you have? Do you see that, how it builds it out? And so that's kind of a nice note-taking and note-making kind of way of doing it. So we're going to start with memory today. We're going to do memory sessions. I'm going to talk about names and faces. We're going to talk about words. We're going to talk about remembering lists, like your to-do lists and all that good stuff. And then we're going to go into reading. But I start with memory because, learning is remembering. And Socrates said that. Learning is remembering because there is no learning without memory. And how many people have seen this book before? You're familiar with 7 Habits of Highly Effective People? You can put it on the screen. 7. How many people read Stephen Covey's book? The late Stephen Covey. Had the opportunity to share the stage with him a number of times and know him. These are the 7 habits, another great resource, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, Dr. Stephen Covey. This is a large study on success and found out that these successful individuals in these different industries, you could distill their success down to 7 habits that they practice. And the 7th habit is what I wanted to talk to you about, is really the essence of this course is sharpen the saw. Sharpen the saw, and that's the 7th habit. And it talks about if you have all these logs, the metaphor is, and you need to be able to cut them, for your fireplace or what have you, and you have a dull blade, when do you want to start sharpening that saw? If you have 20 pieces of wood, the first one or the 20th? The first one, right? And so what you're doing here is you're learning quick learning, right? You're learning meta learning. Meta learning. You're going to hear a lot about this term meta learning. Meta is kind of like a metaphor or metamorphosis. It's about itself. So meta learning is learning how to learn. And if there's one skill to master in the 21st century, it's the ability to learn rapidly, because that helps with everything else. So let's say your passions are, you want to learn about sales, you want to learn about marketing, you want to learn about health, you want to learn about relationships, you want to learn about different aspects of business, you want to learn Spanish, whatever it is your hobbies are. Learn about learning first, all right? You double your learning ability, you learn everything twice as fast, right? And so that's the metaphor. So we're going to be sharpening your saw here today. There's 6 steps to this power. And I think you could use this also for, how many consultants or advisors or experts in your own field do we have in the room here? How many people want to write a book? I think everybody has maybe a book inside them that they have to kind of write, right? And so I'm going to talk about my framework, because I'm really big on frameworks. I'm going to give you a lot of different frameworks to be able to look at memory, look at learning, look at reading. But these are building a system, and I'm looking for like 6 Ps to power, 6P. And the first one is I'm going to spend time during this program on the actual psychology, because I really do believe 80% of success is mindset. I really believe that. After everything, your attitude, your beliefs, your thoughts, if you will, the first thing is psychology. The second P is the principles. So I'm going to show you, you're going to show me the principles of memory. You're going to teach me the principles of memory, but these are the principles, like the principle, these are the laws, if you will, like the law of gravity. Once you understand the laws of how your memory works, you can see why you remember certain things, and you'll see, more importantly, why you forget certain things. and you'll be able to apply. Because I think ultimately the expert is not always the person on stage. Who's the expert? You are, right? Because you know you better than anybody else. And so this is about owning and stepping into your greatness, stepping into your expertise. Because if you want to, improve your, self-esteem overnight, then, just learn how your brain works. The third area I'm going to talk about is proof, and that's really the science behind it. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about like brain anatomy and neuroscience, but I noticed when I added like 2 or 3 or 4% of that into the program, people are like, oh, that's why. So I'm going to talk about the proof, and also part of the other proof is you doing it. Because I really want, it's nice to academically know information. It's more impressive to me for people who could do it. And I love results. Like I'm passionate about that. And I know when people buy a program, sometimes they don't finish it, and we're all guilty of this. But I love, what you practice, and we'll talk about practice as one of the P's, because I think what you practice in your private lives, you're rewarded for in public. Do you notice that? Like how you show up publicly in your greatness in any form comes from the work and the sweat that you put in private. And rarely do people see that. And so I want to talk about the proof and a little bit about the science of it. And then I'm also going to give you, talk about the procedures or the processes, if you will. Right, the procedures. Like actually, here's the 3 steps I use for memorizing a speech without notes. Right, here are 4 steps for memorizing or learning a foreign language. Right, here's 7 steps for remembering the name and face of everyone you meet. And so we're going to talk about those procedures. And then practice, right? Because practice makes what? Permanent. I like that. Practice makes permanent, right? Practice makes progress. Because we can never get to that level of perfect. Because I think sometimes that people who are, and I was like this, and this is just my point of view, I'm very cautious about saying something definitively. That's why I say, give you the responsibility, you are the expert. Don't listen to anything I say and just automatically assume it's truth. Test it for yourself, and then I'm going to give you a buffet of memory techniques. Take the ones that you like, and it works for you. But practice makes progress. Right? And I don't think perfect is even attainable, because I always think there's another level, but that's my personal belief. Maybe perfect practice makes perfect, but most of us don't practice perfectly, right? If I just practice typing like this is as good as I'm going to get, right? As opposed to this. So I'm going to teach you how to read like this, typing, right? The metaphor. So we're going to talk about practice, because what we talked about is the bad news is it takes effort, but the good news is it doesn't take as much as you think. It just takes the consistent effort, and that's really the lifestyle. But the final, P is the plan. I want to make sure that when you leave here today, and also, come back again and go through this program, that you have some kind of plan. Like I call it a map. Mental action plan or memory action plan, if you will. So I'm going to give you all these strategies and tools, but you have to leave here knowing that, when you're gone, that I'm not going to, I don't have the luxury of being like a mobile memory guy and just, walking around with you and just like, what's that person's name? And I tell you what that person's name is and such. But you need a plan for yourself because you have the responsibility. All right, because you have a super memory. So I'm going to ask you specifically how your memory is, and you're going to tell me it's super. So how's your memory? Super. How's your memory? Super. Okay, let's see. So we're going to talk about, I'm going to give you a little test, all right? First of all, I'm going to give you 5 levels of learning, and then I'm going to give you a little memory assessment. All right, because most people have seen me do my stuff on stage, but I want to see what you do, all right? But first, the 5 levels of learning. And some of you know this, but this is useful information to know if you're a teacher or instructor or a parent. People learn things in 5 stages, all right? And these are pretty much solid. The first level is you learn, it's not really learning, it's just you're unconsciously incompetent, right? Let's say I talk about speed reading and you never heard of speed reading before, then you are unconsciously incompetent, meaning you don't know that you don't know how to do something. Does that make sense? Because at one point, everything you want to learn, at one point you didn't even know it existed. So you're unconsciously incompetent. Next, level 2 is conscious incompetence. Once you learn, wow, speed reading exists, for example, you become consciously incompetent. You know you don't know how to do something. The third level, and that's the level I want to get you at today, is conscious competence. That means you could do something, but it takes your conscious focus and attention and effort, right? It's kind of like driving a car, right? You don't know about a car, you become consciously incompetent, and then you start driving, and you could drive, you could parallel park, but you have to be conscious about it. Do you know what I mean? Now, but if you do that for a little while, what happens? It becomes unconscious, right? Most people drive unconsciously, which is probably the problem, right? But it's unconscious competence. You start tying your shoe and you don't think about it because you're unconsciously competent, right? You take it, second nature. That's the fourth level. It becomes second nature. Typing, most people don't have to think about where's the A and where's the B and where's the C. You become unconsciously competent because you've done it. And the only way to get from 3 to 4 is what? Practice, right? There is no shortcut there. There is no magic pill, but there's a magic process, right? So my promise to you is if you do these strategies, you work the procedures, you do the practice, you have the plan and such, and you understand the principles, is that you get these kind of results. You won't have a photographic memory. I don't have a photographic memory, but I have a trained memory. So I believe there's no such thing as a good or bad memory. There's just a trained memory and an untrained memory. And when you leave here, you're going to have a pretty trained memory, and I love it. And I get excited about this because it's like I'm going to show you how to remember numbers and such. How many people have seen me memorize like numbers on a video or something like that? Like 30 or 40 or 50 or whatever numbers. Most people have trouble remembering a 7-digit phone number, right? How many phone numbers do you actually know? Do you know as many phone numbers as you did 10 years ago? How come? Technology, right? Your smartphone is making us not so smart. Because it's doing everything for you, right? Technology, it's convenient, but it's also a crutch. But I'm going to show you how to memorize numbers. Most people can memorize like 5, 6, 7 numbers, right? I'm going to show you how to do 9, 10, 11, even 20. And then, you know what genius is? Above 9. It's going to be pretty epic. And so the fifth level of learning, which is really, the goal, and if you're in our online program, that's how you get to it, is really through mastery. Mastery. And that's a whole different level. Where you become unconsciously competent is one thing, but mastery, that's where you're stepping in a totally different place. That's where, how long does it take to go from there? How long, by the way, does it take to get to level 4 approximately with consistent effort? Practice. How long does it take you to practice to learn something where it becomes more second nature? About 21 days. I mean, it varies. The research depends. They say they have a law of 21. They say if you practice anything consistently for 21 days, like typing, you do it for 21 days practice, you start doing it unconsciously. Driving, tying your shoe and such, reading maybe, 21, 30 days. To get to mastery, though, latest research is saying 10,000 hours. 10,000 hours. And the areas that you're an expert at, think about your careers and what you spent your focus, your vocation doing. 10,000 hours will put you into place of mastery. And so that's the ultimate. And I would love to see people walking out as real master learners because I think lifelong learning, there's nothing more juicy. So I'm going to give you 20 words now. All right, so put your pens down, and what I'd like you to do is I'm going to give you a list of 20 words. Like if you see me, and because that's not going to take the time for me to do it, but if you see me memorize like a list of words out of order, I want to show you how I do it. But first, you have to be able to measure it. Right? You need a baseline. So I'm going to show you how to memorize 20 words and then first test you, see how many you remember, and then show you how I would do it and then see the difference. All right? And so pens down. And however you want to do to be able to memorize it, close your eyes if you like or just be comfortable. Sometimes I close my eyes only because it helps me to focus a little bit because it's less distraction. All right, ready? How's your memory, everyone? All right, we'll see. You're getting all nervous. You have to breathe. Some of you are like you hold your breath. Oxygen, very important for memory. All right. And now this list I've used in one of our programs. So if you've done it, go do it again as repetition. Sun, shoes, traffic light. I'm going to go through it kind of fast. Table, star, soda, rainbow, octopus, cat, toes, skis, roses. How are we doing so far? Just good? Spaceship, carrot, dollar, candles, magazine, truck, golf, glasses. You're thinking, stop talking so I can write this down. All right, take out a piece of paper and just write down as many as you remember in order, or as many as you can remember. You can imagine the Jeopardy music. Once you start slowing down, it gets a little bit harder. No cheating. Okay, how we do? Not so super. All right, let's go through this together. What was number 1? After that? Good, just check yourself. Number 3? 4? Number 5? Next? Wow. 7? Number 8? Number 9? Number 10? And 11? 12? 13? 14? 15? 16? 17? 18? Oh, we definitely have some students in this room. 19? And 20. All right, give yourselves a round of applause. Now, honestly, how many people got all 20? Wow, give them a round of applause. I think we have some quick learners here who have gone through a training or two. How many people got 15 or more? How many people got 10 or less? And they're proud of it too. All right, so let's go through this. I'm going to show you the first technique. It's called basic association. And this is a fundamental, okay? So from here, we're going to really speed up. So the first one is this memory tool in your toolbox called basic association. And even if you know it, the road to mastery is you never know it completely. All right, so my attitude is I always want to learn the basics. You know, it's just like Bruce Lee talks about, I don't fear the guy who could do 10,000 different kicks. I fear the guy who does one kick 10,000 times. Right? That's dangerous. So that's the road to mastery. So even if you've seen this before, the master steps in and says, how do I see that even better or do that even differently? So basic association is about finding logical links between two things. And so how we're doing it here is, for example, you can see the screen. All right, so 1 is sun, right? Why? Now what could be a logical association to why 1 is sun? There's 1 sun, right? What else? What else could be like a logical association, that memory device? It rhymes. 1 sun. What else? The first thing you see, you know, or the first thing in the day is the sun. 3 letters, same number of letters. All those are basic associations to remind you 1 is sun. Does everyone see that? Great. Now, tell me about number 2. What could be a basic association for number 2? 2 feet, 2 shoes, right? Does everybody see that? 2 is shoes. Good. Number 3 is what? Traffic light. Why is that number 3? 3 lights. What color are they? In what order? Are you sure? Depends what country you're from. Okay. It's funny. How many people use Google? Right? What color are the letters? We're going to talk about that. All right, so 3 is traffic light because 3 different lights. What about number 4? What's number 4? Say it out loud if you know it. So what's number 4? Table. Why? 4 legs. You hear that? You see it? Good. Number 5 is what? Star. Why? 5 points to this kind of star. Good. 6 is what? 6-pack of soda. Number 6 is soda. Now, by the way, if you didn't get that, if that was a hard association, that's probably why it doesn't work all the time. Because basic association works when it's designed to work. Is this a random list? Yes or no? No, that would be quite a coincidence, right? So it's not. It's a list that's designed this way. So 6 is soda because of why? Good. And this is part of the learning, you teaching me. Number 7 is what? Rainbow. Why? 7 colors of the rainbow. What are they? Roy G. Biv. How many people remember that from school? So you remember those like mnemonic devices like Roy G. Biv? Roy, so it's what colors are they? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, right? How do you remember the Great Lakes? Holmes, remember Holmes? What's H? Lake Huron, O is, Ontario, M is, Michigan, E is, Erie, S is, Superior. Those are little mnemonic devices to remember. So we do this naturally as children. So I want to be able to show you how to be able to do this towards everything else, including names. Number 8 is what? Octopus. Why? Right, 8 legs, 8 tentacles, right? You see that? Good. Number 9 is what? Cat. Why? 9 lives. And say it out loud even if you know it. Number 10 is what? Why? 10 toes. Number 11? Why? That's like a visual association, right? If you look at the skis, it kind of looks like 11. Number 12 is what? Roses. Why? A dozen roses. A dozen roses. Number 13 is what? Why? Apollo 13. Ooh. Now, if you didn't get it, that's what you want to be able to remember, because you're going to want to remember this sun list, and that's why we're practicing it. And the faster you get it, the faster you'll be able to do other things also. So Apollo 13. So how many people saw the movie Apollo 13? Right? So it was one of the missions I was supposed to go to the moon. So Apollo 13. Number 14 is what? Why? 14 karat. So it's spelled differently, right? 14 karat what? Gold. Someone said diamond. 14 karat diamonds, wow. So 14 karat, so carat. Now 15 is what? Why is $15? It looks like a dollar sign, right? If you take the 5 and you put the 1 over it, it looks like a what? A dollar sign. You see that? Also, some people get paid on the what? On the 15th of the month. April 15th is what? For the US, taxes, 15th, right? So that's 1-5. 16 is what? Why? 16 is a song, right? So 16 candles. 17 is what? Why? How do you know that? 17 is the name of a magazine. I actually didn't know that until someone told me. 17 is magazine, right? Because it's the name of a magazine. 18 is what? Truck. And why? 18 wheels. 19 is what? What's 19? 19 holes. 19th hole. Even better. What's the 19th hole for people that don't play golf? The bar. All right, so when they meet at the 19th hole, it's the clubhouse, is the bar, right? So it's a term in golf. If you don't play golf or didn't know that, 19 is golf. 19 also kind of looks like the 9 kind of looks like a golf club, right? It does. And then the 20 is what? Why is 20 glasses? 20/20 vision, all right? So what I want you to do now is just take out a fresh piece of paper and just write down again 1 to 20. If you get stuck on one, you could just go to the next one. It helps to write down the number. I love that sound, like someone like throwing down the pen. Done. Bring it. Okay, now really quick, find a partner. Find a partner. Everyone, you need a partner for this. Just find somebody. Meet your neighbor if you don't know them. Introduce yourselves again. You need a partner. And what I want you to do is just go back and forth. Introduce yourselves. You have a partner, right? You need a partner for this. And just quiz each other just for a few minutes. So say, what's 19 is this? What's 12? Blah, blah. Or give them the word. You could reverse it saying, what's Apollo, what's the spaceship? Go. Let's go back and forth. Okay, stop, stop, stop. Now stand up, stand up. All right, can you put on the screen real quick? The laptop. All right, so basic association works when it's designed to work. All right, it's the very first tool, but it's going to be the basis of a couple other tools that are even more advanced, so that's why we teach it. What we're going to do now is we're going to take a quick break, and this is the practice, by the way, is you really want to practice the sun list. All right, so in your mind, you're going to want to know the sun list because it's going to become like a mental filing cabinet to be able to do some amazing things with your mind. If you've ever seen like the mentalists on stage memorize like words and numbers, this is one of the ways that they do it. So it's worth your effort. What I'm going to show you though during the breaks is some movements. All right, there's actually movements research talking about these cross-lateral training in this field called educational kinesiology. And one of the doctors that really pioneered this work is Dr. Paul Dennison, who does work in the area of brain gym. How many people are familiar with brain gym? Awesome work, right? And so it's just like a way of integrating your nervous system, which is a big part of your mind and your learning. So what I encourage people to do is just do this, and we could send people these resources also as well. But put your pens down, and just one thing, just one exercise that they teach through that process in educational kinesiology is just kind of put your knees to the best of your abilities, just put it to the opposite, your elbow to your opposite knee. You don't have to exactly touch it, or if you need to just go like this is fine too. And notice how some of you are holding your breath. No, it's funny, right? Like when we start, but oxygen, very important. But this center line here, what happens is we're going to talk about how juggling is good for the brain. But these cross laterals, when this side hits this side, like you notice that, you know, if somebody has damage on one side of their brain, if they're paralyzed, if they are, or they have a stroke, if there's paralysis that manifests, where does it manifest? On the opposite side. And we're going to talk about this in the reading program. But it says that your brain is, you know, your left brain, for example, controls the right side of your body, and the right brain controls the left side of your body. But it's not just a brain-body connection, it's also a body-brain connection. So these kind of movements, what science is saying is that as your body moves, your brain grooves. As my body moves, my brain grooves. Say it. Literally. So when you move your body in certain ways, it's actually making connections in your brain. They're saying jugglers have bigger brains. They actually have great connections. You know, and talking about Leonardo da Vinci, for those of you who went through our Brain Power Summit with Michael Gelb, was talking about, you know, how jugglers have bigger brains and quoting the science out of like Oxford and such, because this kind of movement, cross-lateral, helps to make those kind of connections. And so I'm really excited about that. So here again, do this. These are cross crawls that they call them. And you can look more online and find out more of these motions and such. And we'll show different ones. I want to show you another one, actually. This is something different. Now, can you move your hands like towards you like this in circular motion? How many people do like Tai Chi or Qigong or any kind of movements like that, right? You see how it's moving like to you? Now, what I want you to do is now make one of them going the opposite way. So just like shake out your hands like this. And now just like put one going clockwise, the other one going counterclockwise. Now look at yourself, look at your neighbor. Most of you are still doing this, right? You're still, like, you see how this is the same? It's just going the same direction. You want to go one goes out, one goes in. You see this? But doing this actually makes more connections. Breathe too, breathing helps. Look at your neighbor. All right. So we're going to take breaks because breaks are really good, important for learning. I want everyone to come back. 10 minutes. Can we agree on 10 minutes? How long? All right. We'll see you in 10 minutes. Thank you.